Okay, hi. This is the first episode, hopefully, of the long-running podcast that Ryan Watkins and I are starting called the Powder Keg Podcast. My name is Kyle DiDomenico. Today, I am honored and blessed to be joined by Alohi Gilman. And normally on this pod, Alohi, you'll probably see me on other podcasts and on future iterations of this one. I'll be decked out in some Chargers gear. Sometimes I like wearing Philip Rivers bolo tie as a nod to the man, to the El Capitan. Today, we're going clean slate, man, because we're celebrating the you completing your entry-level contract in the NFL, hitting free agency for the first time. I hope we get to have you on again where we're rocking some Chargers gear. But for right now, man, it's a clean slate for Alohi Gilman. So Alohi, thank you for coming on, man. I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you for having me. Great to be here. Fresh start, but exciting things ahead. So we'll see where it takes me.
Very exciting. And Chargers fans, there are no doors closed right now. We are definitely all hoping that Alohi's back with us next season. But right now, we got to be fair to the process. And Alohi has a lot of opportunity ahead of him right now. And all we can do is encourage him to go out there and provide for his family, do what's best for him. And we just hope that Alohi's interests and our interests coincide right now. So Alohi, this is a big week right now. We're not getting into free agency yet. It's combine week. So I wanted to start by looking back at some of your pre-draft interviews when from back at the Senior Bowl, you were asked to provide a scouting report on yourself, and you described yourself as a guy that has natural and rare instincts, is versatile, can play in the box or as a deep safety, can also play nickel, play the run game and blitz. As your entry-level contract, your first 4 years with the Chargers comes to a close and you prepare for these negotiations, how would you amend your self-scouting report?
Oh man, I mean, revise it if you would, or just
You can leave it as is, man, and instead
yeah,
of revising it, you could just give us where are some of the areas that you think you experienced the most
yeah,
growth in your game over these last 4 years, and then in your next contract, over your next stage of your career, where are you looking to take another leap?
yeah, for sure. I mean, my first 4 years on my rookie contract, it's been a blessing, it's been a journey. I've been able to grow in a lot of different areas, and I think for me, the way that I approached it, the way that the NFL, the way it works is the opportunities come if you're willing to adjust and to learn and to grow. And that's kind of been my experience. Every experience is different, but being a late rounder, a guy who's been trying to find his niche, trying to find an opportunity, I always looked at each year trying to be as well rounded as possible, and to be able to fit in any opportunity that's given to me. So I think, my pre-scouting combine, which is pretty cool to hear because it's been a few years, obviously, and cool to see, what things have come to fruition. But my pre-scouting combine, I felt was pretty accurate. But looking back at it now, there's obviously things, and as a competitor, you always want to get better. You always kind of want to stay on edge for things that can push you to the next level. And that's my big motivation of even just playing this game. I want to see how far my limits are and keep pushing it. Well, for me, I guess, going forward, um, I feel comfortable with any position really on as a safety, being deep, being in the box, being able to be a guy who roams, who can see, who has a lot of vision, who's physical at the point of contact, and a guy who's really good in space, but also can has the versatility to be in the box. Um, but I think the biggest, m- I think all those things are the physical things that you can take. Obviously, instincts, natural instincts. That's just something that I was born with, trained with. I feel like I have a different level of that than a lot of my peers. And it's always been like that since I've played the game, since I was at Notre Dame, and anything before that, and even in the league. I feel like I've had a different level of instincts that most people around me, it was a night and day experience. But I think for me, as a guy who's been playing the game for 4 years, my biggest improvements and things that jumps me off the charts besides the physical things as a well-rounded safety is I have the ability to change and see the game from a defensive coordinator's perspective mentally, and that allows me to play faster than a lot of guys around me. That allows me to make plays. That allows me to put people in the right positions. And that allows me to impact the game, obviously from a game-changing perspective, but affecting the guys around me because I'm able to put them in the right places, and I'm able to be a cerebral, a quarterback back there, if you would say. It's kind of cliche to say that, but I think that's a big leap in my game, and it's an X factor, if you would.
And cliches are cliches because people say them, right? They
Right.
happen. There's a lot of truth in them, and we definitely see that in your game, Alohi. Talking about you brought up your upbringing at those pre-scouting interviews. You were asked, who is a big who had the biggest impact on you? Probably was it a coach, a player, something of that sort. In a lot of your interviews, you like to reference Manti Te'o. You had a great relationship with him growing up,
Mhm.
but beyond that, and that he might tie into this answer as well. You really mentioned your hometown of Laia. Did I say that properly?
But yeah, but for sure.
La
Yeah,
sorry,
no
La
worries.
uh, and how you're you didn't grow up watching a lot of TV, playing any video games. You were outside playing with your friends, playing at the park. So did those instincts come from, your Pop Warner coaching, or did you guys have some of the most legendary like pick up football, tackle football games at the park where you guys are just, getting real nitty and gritty about it?
Yeah, I guess the best way that I can explain this is, like I said, I wasn't raised with video games. My family had a 10-inch TV growing up, so, like, we watched TV, but it wasn't very much, um, and we lived in a community that was very tight-knit, and this community, we were always outside. So you could walk on the street, every street, and there was something going on. And we had this park called Laia Park. It was our like hometown park, and you could go there till this day, like today, and walk there, and there will be like 8 different sports going on. There'll be rugby, there'll be football, there'll be basketball, there'll be kids on the side playing marbles, playing anything. So like the competitive edge was just from the day I was born was just and was in this community was just bred like that way, and we constantly were competing with each other, and in anything. It could be we used to do like hockey, but with not actually hockey sticks. We would like get like a foil ball and make a little foil. We break the sticks off the tree and like would make up games and like play whatever you call it, court hockey, but it was really on like the gravel, like the road, like playing like that. Like we did that all my whole childhood, and everyone was just very competitive. Um, and like for my whole childhood, I always played 2, 3 years above me. So I have two older sisters, and shout out to them because they were, big contributors as well. I always played at their age group, and they were 2 years and 4 years older than me. So I used to get beat up a lot by those guys, and it was part of it, and it was a small hometown, but we have some great athletes that come out of that community, and has played really well and played in the NFL and all over the world or the country and in America. So yeah, I guess that's my way. That park is like my vision when I think of that.
So, is that playing a couple years older than you a part of where that hard hitting tenacity comes from you? Because you tend to hit much harder than your size might indicate. Alohi, you packed a
Mm.
mean punch this last year, forced quite a few fumbles, broke up quite a few passes just at the point of impact when the ball hit the receiver's hands. It was I mean, it looked like you came into your own in a sense and were able to play a lot more free, a lot faster. What was that? Where does that come from?
Yeah, I guess I have to, you know, give a huge shout out to my dad. My dad has been my coach since I was young. He still is a coach. He coaches a lot of kids in the state of Hawaii. He does DB tech training. So it kind of runs in my blood. My dad played defensive back at Southern Utah, but he's also a coach and a trainer out there. So he does a lot of that. But growing up, I gotta, give a shout out to him. He's been my biggest impact for sure. He always put me 2 years, 4 years ahead. So if I was playing basketball and I was 10 years old, he would put me with the 13-year-olds. And at the time, I didn't really know. I was just like thinking, dang, everyone's just bigger than me. Like, and I would just play and play, and I got better way faster than most of the kids around me. And I think there's one year like I played at my level, and it was just too easy. Like I was like, Dad, I need to go back with them. Like this is just getting too easy. So, but yeah, I gotta shout out to my dad. He's been my mentor, my role model, and he's groomed me to where I'm at today. And he's a great coach, father. So big respect to him.
Is he the first of the Gilakillas, or does
He is
that
the
come
first.
from even above him? Well,
I
can you
mean, he is the first. I guess we always laugh about that, but it probably is my mom because my mom is the one who like she carries the real punches, and so at least I guess she's the OG. Her and my dad, the OG Gilakillas, and then everyone else kind of falls in line. All my families played sports. Sister played soccer and rugby in college. My brother's at Stanford. Was going transferring to Utah. I have a whole bunch of my sister played water polo. My other sister wrestled. Like it's a big family affair, but that's kind of our model, the Gila Killas.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So when you were drafted in 2020, you were drafted into a defense manned by Gus Bradley, and it was known for its heavy usage of cover three schemes. A lot of times, Alohi, we see players that get drafted by one coaching regime, and then when that coaching regime, if that coaching regime turns over a little early, sometimes those players are kind of lost in the mix of a scheme change. You, on the other hand, really excelled when Brandon Staley came on board and brought his match pattern defense with him. Uh, what was that experience like? Did it kind of make 2021 feel like a second rookie season, or did you feel pretty prepared to pick it up right away?
Yeah. So backstory, great experience was also Gus Bradley is a great coach, and I have so much respect for him. So shout out to Coach Bradley. But backstory for me in college, obviously I transferred from Navy. I had three defensive coordinators in my college career, so I've kind of had an idea of understanding a lot of different philosophies in my college time, and then going to the NFL, the cover three zone concepts was a little bit more was a different philosophy that I tried have been in. So that was an experience in myself, and I learned a lot in that scheme. But in college, uh, I well, let's backtrack. I played corner in high school, so I learned to play defense at corner. And my dad is a DB coach, and he is a man coach. So he taught man principles, and he taught me everything of how to play man. And I got really good at playing like just straight man to man, off, press, catch. So those instincts were kind of already there from my dad foundationally. And I got to Notre Dame, and the transition for me at Notre Dame was easy because I had the system was a two high system, a quarter system, and from Coach Elko and Coach Clark Lee, who ended up being my third defensive coordinator in my college career. Um, and it was very vision based. But going transferring this Coach Staley system, it was an easy transition for me going from Gus's to Coach Staley. So I wouldn't say it was a second rookie year. If anything, it was more complex, but it fit my style a little more because I had a little bit more vision. And coming from, when you're in a cover three system, you're cranked in the box, and you have to be able to understand, drops, um, route concepts, and the soft spots in those zones, just like any zone coverage. But with Coach Staley's system, he gave the safeties a little bit more freedom to have more vision. and that was something where my instincts could take over naturally. And in the pattern match, it's a pattern match zone, and a lot of his stuff. I grew up playing man, so all the zones turned into man, and I was like, it was easy for me to pounce on routes. So to be honest, it wasn't a hard transition. I took it and ran with it, and it was just a matter of getting an opportunity, and I felt really comfortable with it from the jump. Um, but I had a great coach in college, Terry Joseph, who's at Texas now, who taught me a lot about playing in quarter systems as well. So I got to shout out Terry Joseph, and Chris O'Leary was there as well.
Chris O'Leary brought back, we joke amongst the Chargers fans that Chris O'Leary's brought back to try to tempt you back into our building, Alohi. So everyone's quietly hoping that that's the case. But when as you are preparing for free agency, though, to be fair to you, um, you know, is cover three something that you'd feel comfortable returning to? Is that something that, if Gus had stayed with us and you were, you stayed in the defense that you were drafted into, would we have seen a similar Alohi Gilman show up the way you did?
That's a good question. I've even thought of that. I mean, Coach Bradley's system is great, and it allows you to be aggressive, but it also it's a little more black and white. I don't want to say conservative, but it is a defense that you're like, all right, this is what we're doing, and you're gonna have to beat us doing it. With Coach Staley's defense, it was a little more complex, so we had a lot of moving parts. Will I be as successful? I think given the time that I had, I think I would have been successful regardless. Um, because my rookie year I had some great vets, Jaleel Adai, Rayshawn Jenkins, who else had Desmond King, Casey Hayward, great vets. But I think in terms of the quarter system, because I had a background behind it, it when Coach Staley came over, that transition was very easy for me, and I felt very comfortable. So it allowed me to play fast. Whereas when I first came in as a rookie, I was learning the system and I was still trying to get a feel for everything. But I still think I would have performed well and played fast, and just mentally been able to pick it up pretty quick.
When you were drafted, a lot of fans, a lot of pundits were assuming that you were going to be that stub linebacker, kind of in the box safety, but you thrived when lined up deep as well and playing in those free
hmm
safety roles, which I mean really sets you up well for, free agency and for your value, because that's a lot of versatility, man. That's really valuable to all sorts of teams. What about as you do transition into these negotiations, are you kind of looking to stay as that free safety, or do you want to kind of have more flexibility to be in the box, almost like the kind of role that Derwin plays in the Chargers defense?
Yeah, I mean, uh, it's hard for me to pick. Like, I'm a ball player. Like, that's just how I feel about playing the game. I just want to play. I used to tell the coaches that anywhere too. Like when Duran was out, when Duran had different stuff, I'm like, dude, I'll play whatever. Like, and I feel like I'm a ball player who can play any position at a high level. Like for other people, there may be some times where it may be a drop off because they're not used to being in those positions. They're used to being in the deep part of the field. Like I can get to the box and feel like I'm at home too. So it's like for me, I don't care. I want to win. I want to go to a place that allows me to thrive, and place that that matches me and matches my energy, matches my skill set, that can allow me to play ball and to play fast. If you want me to line up, play deep, I will be the best and get into my craft to the best of my ability and go make some plays. But if you want me to be versatile and do a little bit of both, like I can do it. I feel like I'm just a piece that can be able to move around so much that it's a win-win no matter what, because he's gonna find a way to get to the ball. Like I'm always around the ball, and that's just the instincts. That's the mental preparation and the detail in my craft that I have, and my belief in myself as a player. So I'm a ball player. I'll play whatever you want. You want me to hold the tee? I'll hold the tee. I can kick the ball. I could try to kick the ball. I don't care. I'll do whatever it takes, and that's how I approach it.
So it's funny you mentioned that you tell the coach if Derwin's out or something, I can fill in for him. I can go wherever you need me to. Your big breakout game was you filling in for Derwin James. And
Mm,
Alohi, you might feel like you had a different breakout game, so I'd like to quiz you on that afterwards. But for
okay.
fans, your breakout game, at least for me, was 2022 Week 14. Uh, we were going up against the Dolphins offense that was really red hot at the time, and Derwin James is out. And that's a big deal for this defense. Derwin's an all-pro. He's, definitely somebody that defenses have to scheme around. And Mike McDaniel's one of the premier offensive game planners. And what happens, man? I think it was the first or second play of the game. He puts Tyreek in motion towards your side. You're filling in for Derwin. He releases Tyreek, almost like we're playing Canadian football. Guys coming out with speed. And Alohi Gilman breaks every pre-drafting scouting report that said might be a liability in deep coverage, might not have the foot speed to keep up with guys. You matched Tyreek, made an incredible pass breakup, and that really set the tone for not only that game, but the Chargers defense started clicking after that as well. And we went on a run that ultimately led to us getting to the playoffs. So can you walk first off, Alohi, let me break that up because I got a little excited and probably talked too much. Would you say that that's your breakout game for you personally? And then walk us through what that play was like.
Breakout game. I never felt personally that was maybe from the outside view was like this is his breakout game. But for me, it felt so natural. Like for the people who know me, they're like, all right, this is just Alohi. And just for the staff that was there, like this is just him. The thing for me was just getting an opportunity, a real opportunity with, the right places, being healthy. Like I think the years before I played with the torn quad, like people don't even know that. Like there was a whole bunch of factors in the other past years that I played and I've made use of my other opportunities, but it was just getting an opportunity. So for breakout game, I don't it definitely gave me confidence, but I don't know if it was my breakout game. I felt that way before I stepped into that game. Like, I felt like I was capable of doing those things, which is funny because, like, you mentioned the scouting reports and, like, I just laugh because it's part of my whole life. Like, I've my whole career, I've had that where people would tell me this, and that, and they just have to turn on the film and it's like, "Oh, wait, that doesn't make sense if you're saying that." But that's why I laugh because that happens all the time where I'm able to run with the fastest guy in the league and make a play like that. But so yeah, I don't know if it was my breakout game. I felt like I was a breakout. I was due for one if I just got an opportunity. And that came and I knew when I stepped on that field that I was gonna play well. So that happened. But in terms of the play, um, I mean, we kind of prepped for it all week, understanding what they did. Um, and I knew, and I know Tua well as well. So Tua, the quarterback, and because we're both from Hawaii, his dad and my dad is really close. His younger brother and my younger brother are really close.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I knew him well, but kind of studying him, I kind of understood there was a few options that he was. Tyreek is a beast. He's a monster. Like, when he runs on the field, it's just a different speed than everyone else. And but I guess for me, I tried to anticipate. I kind of understood what was happening once I saw the formation, and once he went in motion, I was like, okay, this could go down a few ways. So for me, I wanted to be able to cut him off and make him turn his route into not one dimensional, but for me to understand like this is the route that he's doing. So I tried to squeeze him as best that I could, but staying on top of him without giving him too much room. Um, but yeah, I kinda understood the play before it happened, so when it happened, I knew what it was. I practiced it. I kind of visualized that play too during the week, which was pretty cool to see it come out in fruition. But yeah, I think it was just a good play and just anticipating and, um, I guess I'm a lot faster than what guys think, huh?
Well, I mean, even regardless of 40 scores, Alohi, if you run like a 4.2, but your first couple steps are in the wrong direction, what good is that doing you? You know?
Right. Yeah, we can get
Um,
into that too.
when Chris Collinsworth was calling the play and threw some hot air out there that I love that you
Yeah,
retweeted and called him out for it. He
I
said
got
that
to.
you had to have been scared because you had Tyreek running at you. But when I look at that play, a scared player over pursues to that sideline and gives up the inside of the field. And when you said the
Right.
options that you saw Tyreek has, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Alohi, but I think one of the options is him trying to get back almost either on an in or a post, some inward breaking route.
Mhm.
And you kind of attacked him at first, keeping your inside leverage, basically riding him to the sideline. You took away that option for him to cut inside, which is what the Dolphins really liked to do last year. And as
Right.
soon as he committed to the sideline, you rode him all the way and made it. And then because of your skill as a cornerback and from high school, you looked for the ball, made a great breakup, and set the tone.
Yeah, that's pretty on point. Honestly, I it was the angle, and I was practicing that all week, and I knew that, in
Mhm.
those situations, he does have options. And based off his release, he could break it across on a dig. He loves making those Canadian style digs, and it burned a lot of people, and it's tough to guard. But I knew if I could cut him off at the right angle, it would force him to either to go just to keep going up, or if he wants to try to cut across my face, he'll have to run through me. So that
Mhm.
was my idea. And when it happened, I felt, I was running with him, and just the ball instincts to be able to turn and be calm in that situation. A lot of people don't, even corners, they don't, some guys will, be a little panic in that situation. So, that's pretty on point, honestly, with what you said.
Well, Alohi, I know that you had the confidence to know that you could do that, but as a fan, I can't tell you how cool it is to see somebody have their moment that they've been working towards and deserving, and knowing like that's for us, that's the career defining for your trajectory. And I really think that from that point on, man, your star has just been pointed directly upwards, and it's been incredible to watch. So speaking
Appreciate
of
it.
your Oh, no worries, man. But speaking of your preparation, transitions, as you're speaking of prepping for Tyreek, um, your brother just announced that he's transferring from Stanford to Utah. Shout
Yep.
out to Alaka'i. Did I
Yep.
pronounce that one right, man? Yes. All right. For
Nice.
the double OT interception that you got to shout him out for the double overtime interception that helped Stanford pull off one of the coolest wins of the
Yeah.
year. He got Sanders. That was an electric game, man. Now he's going to Utah. What is some advice that you're giving him from your experience transferring from Navy to Notre Dame?
Yeah. My brother, he's one of the smartest people I've been around in terms of the game and just in general. But during that process, he's grown, man. He's a grown man, and he makes decisions for himself. But in terms of the transfer process, I didn't have too much, but to tell him that he has to find the best situation that fits him, and to not be afraid of that. I think he was bouncing around on whether he should stay or not. He really loved his coaches at Stanford, and he really respected them. But I just told him that you have to weigh out the options, find out what's best for you, make a decision, and just commit to it. And that's kind of what my situation was. I took, bet on myself in that situation when I left Navy, and I was able to commit to it and go. And for him, it's kind of the similar process. He wants to find the best situation, which he did, and he's going to go make the best of it and commit to it and commit to the process, and let things fall out how it should. But my brother, he's a great player, one of the smartest players. Like, there's some things that he even helps me with. Like, we talk ball a lot, and him and my dad, we'll talk ball a lot, and the stuff that he's able to see on the field is just another level. And that's not in a bias. That's just purely as a football standpoint. But so I got a lot of respect for him. He works his tail off, and I'm really excited for him at Utah. And I think he'll have some good steam coming out of this year, and being able to get ready for his next steps in the NFL as well.
We've seen a lot of brothers connect in the NFL. Is that something that you would love to have the opportunity to do, be in a defensive backfield with him?
Yeah, I definitely would love that. We've talked about this since when I was young. I mean, my brother's been on my hip since I was a kid. Like, he's been my best friend. Everywhere I went, he was with me. Like, if I was hanging out with my friends, I tell my friends, like, my brother's, like, with me. Like, that's just the deal. It's the tag team. Like, he's with me. So, from training to all the late nights, working hard, he saw the grind for me. He saw me, not get offered when out of high school besides the Navy. He saw me go through all the ups and downs, Notre Dame having to sit out a year. He saw all the process, and, we've talked about when we were young, like, man, it would be so cool to play against each other or play with each other in the NFL. Like, my brother and I would joke, and he'd be like, "Man, I'm whooping your butt if I see you on the field." Like, I don't, we're talking trash to each other and whatnot. So that's just us, and we're excited, and I'm really excited for him, regardless, because he's building his own path, and that's the main thing. I have so much respect for him, and he has a Stanford degree in his pocket. He's a unbelievable guy as well. So I mean, I wish him the best always.
I mean, the reason why I really wanted to ask that question to Lohi was I wanted to give you a chance to spotlight him too, man, because
Yeah, appreciate that.
awesome to see that he had a great year and that he's got great things ahead for him in this next season. And yeah, man, hopefully we're talking about his
Yeah,
pre-scouting reports next season.
yeah, I think so. It might look very similar to mine though. The pre-scouting might look not big enough, not fast enough, but always around the ball. I don't know how, but the analytics don't say it. But he's always there. I don't get it.
Well,
And
hopefully somebody figures it out finally. Uh,
they will.
Speaking to that transfer year, Lohi, did that help you prepare as an athlete? Do you think it's when you're looking at what your brother's going through right now, do you think that the new transfer rules are taking away an opportunity for some of these guys to kind of slow down, learn how to prepare, learn how to look at film? Or are you happy that he's able to go into this new situation to really set himself up before the draft?
I think for his situation, it is great. He's a grad transfer, so grad transfers were, I think, normally allowed to do that. I wasn't a grad transfer, so I came in my sophomore year, and I had to sit out a year before the portal days, so I had to sit out a year. So I think it's great for him. He's stepping into a situation. He's a well-seasoned vet, played a lot of ball, and he'll step in and contribute right away. But for my situation, it was I could have played that year, my sophomore year at Notre Dame, and I was planning on it because I tried to put in a waiver um, when I left Navy and committed there. I tried to put in a waiver to play, and NCAA and Naval Academy, the coach over there denied it, so I wasn't able to play. But it was the best thing for me. I was devastated, but it was the best thing for me because I was able to get in the gym. I was able to build my foundation up higher, and I put on 15 pounds, 10, 15 pounds, and I was feeling good physically and mentally. I had a year under my belt to learn ball a little more, and so it was the best thing for me, and it prepped me to take off once I was able to play.
Awesome, man. And yeah, we've mentioned off camera, Notre Dame's a beautiful university to go to. So I'm sure that was
Yes,
an
sir.
incredible experience. What was it like being a captain in that final year and playing with guys like Drue? Wait, Drue was a year before you, but so
Year
not
before.
your captain year, but yeah,
Yeah. It was great. I mean, I have so much good things to say about Notre Dame. A lot of my teammates probably get sick of it, but Notre Dame's such a special place. Like, it was I've had great guys. Like, we love football and we love the camaraderie of it. But when you're at Notre Dame, you just understand that it's more about the people, and everyone that I've come across there, from football players to non-football players, are some of my greatest friends, and the heart of them is really good, and that is something that for me goes beyond football, and I'm super grateful for. So getting the opportunity to be with guys like Drue, and all my teammates at Notre Dame was super awesome because it made me not only a better player but a better person, and is far beyond football, like I said.
definitely. uh, Carrying over with you being a captain that senior year, now you're through your first rookie contract. You've already spoken
Uh,
about seeing the field like a defensive coordinator. And you really showed up in this last year multiple times as a leader. I saw you communicating different things in the coverages, pointing things out to your teammates. What what sort of leadership characteristics have you pulled from different players, different veterans in your time
Mm.
with the Chargers that you're looking to emulate as you take this next step forward in your career?
Um, Shucks, man. I've had an interesting career up to this point, right? Like I went to the Naval Academy, which is all about leadership. I was raised by parents who, like a dad who was a coach and taught me really well of how to become a great player and the hard work and all those leadership, those qualities to be a good player and good person. And I don't know if there was one significant thing that I've seen from my time at the Chargers. For me, I've had a lot of experiences. Some of the best leaders I've been was at Navy, obviously leadership wise, and the way that they carry themselves, the way that they approach life, the standards that they hold themselves to. I feel really blessed, to be able to have those experiences. I don't know if there's one player. I could name a few for sure, but I'll name a few. But before that, I guess for me is leadership wise, I feel like I just have an ability to just connect with people on a genuine level. And the best leaders that I've been around were genuine and they cared about you. You knew it, you couldn't fake it. And they loved the people around each other. They loved being with the guys. They loved the ability to make a difference in someone's life. And I was raised that way, but and naturally, culturally, that's who I am. But that's kind of how I approached it. I wanted to be my best version of myself, and I wanted to, show people that I care and that I got genuine love for them. And I think that is what impacts a room and impacts a culture. And I think I was able to do that with a lot of guys, and it carries on to the field with a lot of them. And I think they can feel that. And I'm not the rah type, honestly. Like that's not me really. But when I say something, I mean it, and it's passionate, and that is something that will go farther, and that's farther, in terms of your connection with people. And I guess would be another superpower of mine is to connect with people. So, but do want to shout out a few guys that were great instruments in my Charger career. Jaleel Adai, my rookie year, was super great. Chris Harris Jr., I played with him for 2 years. OG vets. Linval Joseph, freaking pro, man. Like, this guy worked his tail off, and I'm like, dang, I got to get my work up because this guy didn't complain. He grinded and freaking went. Um, who else? There's a couple other guys. Chris Harris, I mentioned him. Linval. I got to mention Justin just because we came in together. Um, and we've kind of grown together, which is pretty cool. And Justin's just a great dude. Like I like him because he's just him. Like he's not faking anything. He's just him. He doesn't care about the flashy stuff, and he wants to be the best that he can for the guys around him, genuinely. And guys can feel that, and he doesn't have to yell too much. But when he does, it's like, oh shoot, I got to tighten up. Like I got to get right because Justin is out here, laying it down. So I guess those are the guys that have been a big impact with me. And yeah,
Awesome, man.
that was a
Well, we
long
talked
answer.
about your pre-draft scouting reports, your lack of recruitment opportunities after high school that you've mentioned in your interviews, and the chip on your shoulder you've always played with. Now that you're entering free agency for the first time after finishing your first full starting season with PFF's highest zone coverage grade of any safety with at least 300 coverage snaps. So that's right. Let's back that up. Highest zone coverage grade. That's a man that's saying he plays man coverage mostly. That's a big deal, man. So with all with that on your resume now, you know that the objections from GMs right now are going to be we need to see it a little bit more. We're still worried about these measurables. So how do you sort of prepare for those objections as you're getting ready to negotiate a multi-year deal and set yourself up in free agency?
Right. When I look at it, I'm confident in myself. I believe in myself and my abilities. as everyone should. I've went against this narrative my whole life, right? The whole the measurables, um, and in a lot of cases, that there's a lot of things that actually plays a role, right? And for me, I look at, overall my season, I look at my body of work, and all those questions are valid. You can definitely question it because you should, and that's part of the business. But for me, going into the open market, I think looking at the measurables is something you can measure, but there's something you can't measure as well, which is the understanding of football. And I think when you look around in the league and you look at who are the best players in the league and the elite players, not even just the elite players who the legendary players, let's go there in the NFL history. They all have one thing that's in common and is the mental ability to be one step ahead of everyone else. And my my one of my biggest strengths is being able to be a step ahead. So that 4.6 or 4.5, I ran a sub 4.5 or yeah, 4.5, mid 4.5, whatever. It doesn't matter because that 4.5 turns into a 4.3 or turns in that trigger turns into different speeds when you get on the field. Not because I trained more, which I do, train in my craft, but mentally, I'm able to see things quicker, faster, process information quicker on a faster level than everyone around me, as well as my natural instincts to go and find the ball, be around it, get to the ball. And that's something that I don't care how fast you are, how big you are, you cannot outdo. Don't get me wrong, there's a level of standard of physically that you have to be at. But for me, I have the ability to be at places quicker than the people around me because I know what's happening pre-snap, post-snap. I study what's happening in the game. I'm studying the offensive coordinator, what he likes to think. Those are things that's happening in my brain. And I've been able to do that at a faster rate than everyone around me. So when I got to teams, it's like, okay, obviously we got to see how he plays this and that. Like I'm a 6 rounder. Guys probably didn't look at me like I was even gonna make the team, but I was able to beat out guys every year up to this place, and they even tried to draft me out of this team, the Chargers, and I still was able to beat them. And it's like, damn, we just can't keep him away. And it's those things. I have the X factor was being able to get the ball. That's just proven and it's been there. I'm always around the ball, even when I'm not. Even though some people may think that they probably blame me, I'm just around the ball. In some cases, it's not because that's my guy. It's just because I'm just always around the ball. That's a whole nother subject, um, I'm always around the ball. I'm able to change games that way, ball production, and I have an ability to see things at a higher rate than people around me, and that's what separates me. That combined with being able to impact rooms, culturally and leadership wise, um, I think is something that goes farther than beyond what people can put on the tape and on the measurables. But I'm grateful. You like just to be in this position. I'm grateful. Like general manager is evaluating me. Like I'm all for it. Like I love it. I would could sit down and have conversations with it, and I just hope all it takes is one person to believe in me, and it's always been like that. And the rest will take care of itself. And in some time, people will be like, I don't really know what those reports are, analytics. So that'll
And
that'll unfold.
you've got some connections that have, spread out throughout the league now. I obviously, like I told you, preference is that you stay with Los Angeles for a very long time. But if you do need to go explore, you have Gus Bradley out there. You've got, you know, this would be the worst case scenario, but I don't know if you know this, Alohi. Tom Telesco brought over a lot of Colts guys when he first came to the Chargers. He was
Oh,
averaging
did he?
signing a Colts guy a year, so he might be eyeing you as well. He likes reunions. You've got a lot of
Nice.
connections out there, so I have all the faith in the world that someone's gonna spot that, and you're gonna have a nice negotiation with somebody that gets you what you're looking for. Um, Getting back to one of the things on that subject, Alohi, that's been frustrating for Charger fans is we had this um, kind of mentality, or at least the organization um, had a draft and develop mentality, but we weren't really um, seeing that commitment towards a lot of our day three guys that were homegrown, took a couple years to develop, and then had a breakthrough year like you did in their final year. In your case, it was your third year you really broke out, but then had your first full season as a starter in your
Mhm.
fourth year. We got guys like Drue Tranquill, who is in that same boat as well. Kyzir White, Uchenna Nwosu was a second year player. You got Isaac as well from Notre Dame. A lot of guys that, were homegrown talent that were let go. And we really would have liked to see them stick around on longer term deals. When you see those guys have those breakout years after grinding for so long and then walk out the building, is that kind of disheartening as a day three guy that's trying to emulate that and scratch and claw his way into the starting
Yeah.
roster? Or how does that work out?
It is tough, obviously, but there's so much moving parts in this free agency and in the league. It's a little bit of a musical chairs, if you would say. Like, there's so much need, fill, position, and whatnot. I think when it comes to those guys and myself as well, I don't know if it is a matter. Well, let me say this. I think what happens in the NFL is when you come into college, you're kind of clean slated, right? When you come into the NFL, you're automatically stamped with a narrative no matter what.
Mhm.
So you can have guys who have zero clue about you, but because someone stamped a day three narrative on you, no matter how much plays you make, it'll still be like, oh, but he's a day three guy, not as fast, this, and that, X, Y, and Z. Supposed to just be this. Oh, I don't know how he did that, but that's pretty good. Like, it's hard because there's narratives versus with your day one guy, it gets enhanced if you make those good plays or this or that. Day two, and I'm not to say that as an excuse, but it is hard to break those narratives. So for guys like us grinding to get this opportunity, it is harder to get that opportunity to become the full-time starter, to become a guy who leads teams and makes plays and has a production. Like for myself, I don't feel like I've definitely developed a lot in my time. But like I said earlier in this interview, it was just a matter of opportunity, and that's all I needed. And I felt like that from the day that I started here, and that that opportunity took off and showed. So it is hard to see that happen, but at the same time, we understand the business. And my message to that is whether you sign guys like that or not, they're gonna find their way. And the cream always rises. That's my message. Like whether it happens with the Chargers or someone else. Guys like the day three guys, they're grinders. They're the diamond in the light that you can't really see, but it pokes at you. And the cream always rises. And I've been around a lot of guys, and I just feel like that's a true statement that's happened in my life, on my career. And it'll all come to fruition, and the cream will always rise, and the truth will always come out.
Well, you rose up at the right time, Alohi, at the last three games of last year, right as you're getting ready to hit free agency. You went on
Mm.
an absolute tear. You didn't miss a tackle in your last five games. So I'm extrapolating a little extra there. But in the last three games, you didn't allow a reception. You broke up three passes, made two interceptions, and forced a fumble, which is something you also have a knack for. What allowed you? Was there anything particular that happened in that three-game stretch that allowed you to really unlock another level and play a little bit faster, or were you just getting more and more comfortable as the season wore on?
um I'm trying to think. It's hard. It's a long season, and it didn't go the way we would like it to. Um, the way I approached it is I try to keep it the same from week 1 to week 17. So week 1, everyone's excited. You're preparing your tail off to play out on a high level, and throughout the season, it goes out how it goes. And unfortunately for our team, it didn't play out the way we would love it to. But for me, I where a lot of guys towards that season and or just in general, a losing season, your body's beat up. I was playing with a bunch of injuries, elbow, calf, hamstrings, all kinds of stuff. Um, Towards that back half of the season or back quarter is where you really have to turn it up, and in terms of your preparation and the lock-in and the commitment. And I approach it the same way in college too, because I wanted to, when guys kind of plateau, I want to find a way to take another jump. And that's kind of was my mentality going into that last back half of the 5, 6 games. And that was kind of the commitment that I is. So I turned it up a notch, and it, was able to leap to another level. And I'm really grateful for that. And it was a great experience, and teaching point for me as well. That no matter what the circumstances, you can still find ways to get better. So I guess that's kind of the way that I approached it.
So what you're saying to teams that are really set to compete in 2024 is playoff Alohi is going to be a whole other thing.
It's a new level, and even from here, new level.
Right on, man. Well, to kind of wrap it up, Alohi, you know, got to bring it back to Chargers a little bit. Is there any excitement amongst you and some of the other Chargers on expiring contracts for the new direction that the team is going in? I know Brandon Staley had a great scheme for you that you loved.
Hmm.
But there's also, a lot of hope for the fans, at least, around Jim Harbaugh's resume, the coaching staff he's bringing in. Is that something? I mean, like we mentioned, you got Chris O'Leary, who was an analyst at Notre Dame while you were playing. Is this staff something that is kind of luring you back to stay with Los Angeles? What's the excitement level with you and any other of the guys? Or if you can't speak for them, I totally understand. But what's the
For
vibe like?
sure. Well, I can only speak of my experience, but I was able to meet with most of the defensive staff, and Coach Harbaugh. Um, and the energy is alive. I mean, it feels good. I have a lot of ties from Coach O'Leary, who was worked with me at the DBs at Notre Dame. I have Coach Mike Elston, who was also the D line coach and assistant head coach at Notre Dame when I was there, who's the D line coach at the Chargers now. I was able to meet Coach Minter, the defensive coordinator, when he was at Baltimore, and I was coming out of the draft, and had good conversations with him. Um, and he was evaluating me and whatnot. And just the whole vibe in the building, it feels good, and it feels alive, and it feels good. So I guess I told them, and obviously Coach Harbaugh is amazing, coach, leadership, winner. He brings a foundation that not a lot of other head coaches, just comes into the league with, and he's going to take the team far. But it feels good. The energy is high in there and alive, and I have a lot of ties, and I would love to play for them. And I told them that, and they know that, and they would, So it's I'm excited. I think talking with them, the Chargers will be going up, and whether I'm with them or not, I, would love to see that happen for them, because I was with them on the downturns, and I'd only love to see the franchise, continue to go up, and I think they will. And great energy in there in the building, so I'm excited for them.
Well, and you made an impact on the fans as well, Alohi. I know you've got a whole crowd of people, making Alohi crew shirts and just embracing
Yeah,
you and everything that you are as a player and a person. So, man, I genuinely hope we're able to retain you, but I'm really excited for your opportunity to go out and negotiate, do what's best for you and your family. And Alohi, again, thank you so much for joining us today. Is there any other final shout outs you need to make or anyone you need to
yeah.
reach out to or shine some spotlight on?
Definitely. I would love to shout out to the Alohi crew. You guys are the best. You made this season so fun. I feel like I need to go and see them individually again and just give them a hug. But I appreciate the support. It was so awesome. It made my family happy from Hawaii, and they loved seeing it. And my friends from back home, that support and that love just meant a lot to me. And I really appreciate it. If I'm back, I would love to continue it. It would be so awesome. But that's a huge shout out to them. I want to shout out my family, obviously the Gilakillas. Much respect, much love to them, to be where I'm at. and I'm excited for the future. And I gotta think all of this is cool. I'm not a boastful guy, but I try to be as humble as I can. But you know, I wouldn't be here if without my faith, without understanding that there is a source and a power behind me, and that is, God. And He's been constant in my life, and I'm really grateful for Him. And I'm excited for the future because He's giving me these opportunities and getting opportunities to meet guys like you and everyone from the Chargers fans organization and everything. So the journey's been amazing. The journey continues. I hope it's with the Chargers, but if not, I send my love and wish the best always. And much love.
Awesome. Thank you, Alohi. We really appreciate your time, man. Thank you so much, and best of luck to you.
Thanks, Kyle. I appreciate you.